Good morning, Dr. Mazen.
Good morning.
It's been so long that we didn't get in touch together since Welcome to Palestine, in fact.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to do something together. Regarding the recent decisions, in fact, agreement that was made between Netanyahu and President Trump in the US, in the White House, allowing Jordan to take over the Palestinian territories in the West Bank, excluding the settlements, of course, and allowing Egypt to take over the Gaza Strip, and therefore there would be no justification, I would call that, for the Palestinian struggle in historical Palestine. Israel will be taking over the rest of which is most of historical Palestine, including all Jerusalem. And as you know, the Christian Zionism is the first and biggest supporter and enemy for the Jewish people, or let's say for Israel, inside the White House. So, and I think that they would never give a single cube of the Holy Land for anyone else than the Jews. Therefore, their prophecies will be fulfilled. So, based on this agreement, what do you think they will be doing, or the consequences?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. The issue of what's happening now is a long history from the beginning of the Zionist project in Palestine, which is a project to build a Jewish state, to make this country Jewish, when it was in the late 19th century, 97% not Jewish. So the idea is to transform a country that's multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural, and make it the Jewish state of Israel. The use of prophecies and so forth is just an excuse, in the same way that the Crusaders used Christianity as an excuse to occupy Palestine for political reasons, for economic reasons, for other reasons. So the whole thing is a charade, and I'm not going to get into this issue of religion and so forth, because actually that's not true even on religious grounds. For example, in the Old Testament it says only
it's
after
their point
Jesus,
of view, you know,
after the Messiah comes back. No, I mean it's a point of view that the Zionists adopted to advance their goal, including the Christian Zionists and the Jewish Zionists. It is not based on biblical history. It's not based on anything other than propaganda, basically, an effort. But in regards to trying to liquidate Palestine, that's natural and understandable. If you are trying to take a country, as I said, that's multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural, and make it a Jewish state, you want to liquidate the native people. You want to remove the native people. So that's natural and expected in colonial struggles, that the natives have no place in the colonial construct, so to speak. And that happened in over 100 countries that we know of, from the United States to Canada to Australia and Papua New Guinea, etc.
Same mentality.
Right, it's the same idea of colonization supported by Western imperialism that has been happening here and will continue to be attempted to happen here. I think a more relevant question is what is new about what Trump is proposing. And I think what is new is that he is a buffoon who doesn't know anything about politics, and he is allowed to run the world empire. And he's like Nero, who saw Rome being burned. And I think in that sense, he is declaring all sorts of grand schemes. And one of these is to solve the question here by
the
liquidation.
question of the Middle East.
The question of the Middle East, by liquidation, and by giving not even lip service to human rights and international law. He's saying might makes right, and this is what we are going to do. And if you don't
That's
like it...
how they've been acting since the beginning. It's not
right, but his verbal language and acrobatics is more aggressive, and that's the only difference that we have. And in one way, I consider that a positive difference, because it allowed the U.S. to be exposed for what it is, an imperial power
living in reality
that supports the colonial power of Israel, and that supports violations of international law and human rights, and basically is complicit in war crimes and crimes against humanity. Look, the bottom line is we have 7.5 million Palestinian refugees who yearn to go back home. We have 12.5 million Palestinians who are not going to give up on their rights to live in their own country, and they will not accept a colonial settler state imposing its will on our people.
With that, from the Palestinian side, I truly understand and appreciate for your explanation. The question is the reaction of Christian Zionism as a movement or political agenda. It's not going as how they are planning to do it.
Right, the Christian Zionist agenda, which came in the 19th century, promoted by the Jewish Zionist agenda, when the British Empire sent somebody to the US to spread the idea that the biblical stories are not just stories of religion, but they are actual historical events, that there is such a person as Joshua and Moses, and that these people came and conquered territory and specific territory. This attempt to make the Bible a historical book, which it is not, it was never intended to be, came to serve British imperial power first, and it was spread to America in the late 19th century. And it is failure among most Christians. Most Christians do not buy the notions of changing the Bible to suit political agenda of Zionism, as most Christians did not support the use of the Bible to support the Crusaders and their agendas. So I think it's a failed agenda, yet it's an agenda that's adopted by many millions of Americans, especially poor, uneducated Americans and Europeans in the Netherlands and so forth. These millions of people have some influence, but I do not believe that this is the key influence in the world. So that the Zionist Jewish influence is the one that's more significant.
So you think that even their reaction is not, even if this agreement backfired from the Christian Zionism, it's not that powerful to make a change?
Yes, because if you try to change a political conflict into a religious conflict, as the Crusaders tried to do, it's catastrophic. And this is not helpful to anybody, and it is not something that will serve any agendas. Even those who are promoting it, the Zionist Jews who believe that changing this into a conflict between Islam and Judaism and Islam and Christianity is not helpful. There are billions of Muslims in the world and billions of Christians in the world, and this is not going to happen. We're not going to have a clash of religions. Nobody wants it except the
fanatics,
fanatical Zionist
and the military complex.
and the, indeed, military-industrial complex, so it won't happen.
I hope so. Thank you so much for
Thank you.